Hi, my name is Natalie Weaver, and welcome to the Grow With Sophia series, where we are giving you a glimpse into our lives with Sophia from birth all the way up until her 10 and a half years of life. I promised Sophia that I would continue to keep her story and impact on this world alive. We would love to share the lessons that we learned from her about true beauty, acceptance, and unconditional love. My wish is that you will honor Sophia's memory by committing to teaching your children, classrooms, friends, families, and yourselves about profound disabilities and facial differences. And also follow activists online with disabilities and join their fight for healthcare, equality, accessibility, and so much more. Thank you for joining in to the first episode of the Grow With Sophia series, where we are giving you a glimpse into our lives with sweet Sophia for the 10 and a half years that she graced us with her beautiful presence. So we thought it was important to share the start of the Weaver family, and that is with Mark and I meeting.
So we met in 2004, and it didn't take long before we were seeing each other almost every day.
We dated for 3 years before we got married, and we just had a really fun time traveling. He always made me laugh. We were going on vacation and we made a stop in New York and stayed the night.
I was excited about our trip because I had secretly bought an engagement ring.
After he proposed, the next day we flew to Aruba to celebrate and enjoy our 3-year anniversary. And we saw some people getting married on the beach, and we thought that was pretty cool. Next thing we know, we ended up with a wedding planner, and we got married on the beach. And the only date that they had was our actual 3-year anniversary. After we got married, we decided that we were ready to have a family. I was really excited to find out that we were pregnant.
Well, she was barely pregnant. Did you like 4 weeks and 1 day today? Yeah. That's good. Believe it. It's true.
So it's true. Okay.
It's true.
All right.
It's true, yeah.
How fast is that?
171.
It's
Whoa.
a girl.
171.
It's moving. Oh my gosh.
But we were over the moon excited, and we did all the typical things like decorating her nursery and went to every single appointment and had ultrasounds. And so we assumed everything was going to be okay.
What are you looking at? Blurred. Look at that.
Yeah, so at 34 weeks pregnant, we found out that Sophia would be born with deformities to her face, hands, and feet, and they told us that they weren't sure that she would survive.
I was in denial. I thought they were wrong. I thought, no, there's no way.
The day came on October 20th when Sophia was going to be delivered, and the room was full of
Packed.
full of specialists and nurses waiting for her delivery. It was really scary, and I didn't know what was going to happen, but I remember giving birth to Sophia and the doctors taking her away to the other side of the room to check her out, to work on her. But I remember when they finally laid her on my chest, and I reached my hand out to touch her, and they took her away.
I think I loved her immediately. She was easy to love.
Hi, welcome back to the Grow With Sophia series. It is the month of May, which means that the 1-year anniversary of Sophia's death is coming up in a few weeks. And that is a really painful time for us, so I wanted to share something beautiful, and that is Sophia's arrival into this world. I want to share the unconditional love and keep her story alive, and I thank you for allowing me to do that. I remember being wheeled into the NICU and all the beeps and the sounds, and her bed was a little bit higher, and so I had to slightly stand up from the wheelchair to see her. And in that moment, the shock that I felt from getting the news at 34 weeks pregnant instantly melted away. And I realized this is my baby, and I am going to do whatever it takes to care for her, and I'm going to be the person that she needs me to be. And from that point on, she was my everything, and she had all of my unconditional love.
I was the first one to be privileged enough to be with her back in the NICU room, and I changed her diaper, and I'd never changed a diaper before. She was she was so tiny. I mean, I felt compelled to be there for her. We didn't leave her side until they made us leave the NICU room.
Her eyes are closed and she's just happy right now. She's got plastic on her eyes just to cover up a little bit, keep them moist.
I saw some videos or pictures, and why does she have plastic all over her face?
It's just on her eyes because she was unable to close her eyes, and she didn't have the skin like we have under the eye, so it was just exposed tissue. And so if we didn't do that and put lubricant in her eyes, remember we used to put lubricant in her eyes to help them, then she could have gone blind.
Looks like the feeding is empty.
You're all done. Just trying to look
Hey,
for
good
you.
girl. Daddy's right here, right in front of you. I'm looking at you. We love you.
There's a tube on it too?
Yeah, so that tube went in her nose into her stomach because she had to receive nutrition. And because her mouth was different, we didn't know how she was going to receive that nutrition. At 9 days old, she had her first surgery to get a G tube put in. All of the tests had come back negative for any type of changes or syndromes, and we really believed that the only challenges she would face would be due to her differences to her face, hands, and feet.
I remember her being very strong. I felt like she kept amazing me with what she would do and what she would overcome, with whatever challenge was in front of her. She was very strong and very determined. I remember just being in awe of her in a lot of ways from the very beginning.
I remember we went to the practice suite, which was another step to get out. You had to spend 2 days without all the medical equipment and without all the help and practice caring for your child and all the different medical needs that you had learned. We just got to spend time together as a family.
Yeah, we were excited. We couldn't wait to get Sophia home. Yeah, we passed that test, thankfully, and I remember putting her in the car and taking her home. And then we would just figure it out from there. We didn't really know what the plan was, but we had a lot of time together to learn about her and to kind of bond. And I remember we have some pictures from those days and some videos, and we were then who we are now. We were joking and laughing, and I think making the best of this kind of traumatic situation that we had. We were just in love with Sophia. She was so sweet. I remember, leaving the NICU numerous times because of not being able to take her home earlier, so we had a month or so of that. And so always driving home with the back seat empty was a terrible feeling. And then the day that we put her actually in the car seat, got it checked out, and we drove away. So we got her home, and she had her room all ready to go and decked out. But for us, it was just a time of firsts. We didn't know kind of what to expect. I think she slept with us for a while, in between us for
years,
for quite a while. But we were getting used to that, and you know, like Natalie said, the sort of the sounds and the cries and the laughter and everything, just the typical kind of new baby things. But then you layer on top of that the special Sophia things that we had to get to know. But I remember it was very scary in a lot of ways as well, just being a new parent and really being on your own and not knowing exactly what the future held for all of us. But at the same time, it was exciting and it was memorable. And we have a lot of pictures and videos, and I'm glad we took those because it's great to see them now.
Oh. Hi, baby girl. Hey, Sophia Jane. She wants what she wants, that is for sure.
Mm-hmm.
She's a feisty one. Takes after who?
You.
Mama.
So I remember we got Sophia home just in time for Thanksgiving. My parents actually lived several houses down, so I remember walking her over to my parents' house and having Thanksgiving, and it was just a really wonderful time.
The thing about Thanksgiving or any other holiday in those early days for sure was everybody would argue over who was going to hold Sophia.
Yeah,
that was always the thing, is it was always like, no, Papa's going to hold her, no, Grandma's going to hold her. No, Juju's gonna hold her.
Thanksgiving was a lot of fun, and then we had Christmas. So she had her first Christmas when she was 2 months old. I just remember appreciating every single moment and celebrating every little sound she would make.
Hey, baby, we got you right here. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was 2 or 3 months old when she started receiving physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, which was also feeding therapy. And she had a feeding tube, so we weren't sure if she was going to be able to eat. And so she started all of that really early on. I learned, how to help her build her strength, and so we would focus on that every day.
You're gonna get those strong arms.
We're working on it. You'll figure it out. Yes, you will.
It was pretty clear early on that she was strong and feisty and really sweet and silly.
Hey, you farted on my face. That's funny.
I'm gonna get you, octopus. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I got you.
One of her favorite things to do was to giggle, and she had that giggle throughout her 10.5 years of life, and it always lit up the room and brought a smile to our faces and just so much happiness to hear that laughter.
She would laugh with her whole body, and she did for her whole life, and it was such a beautiful thing to see. And
ready to go up? Up? Up! Yay! Tutu! 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 Hi, sweet girl.
We didn't really know how much longer we'd have with her, and every chance to make her laugh, we would try to make that happen.
And what was really great is seeing Mark, become a dad, and they had a special bond, and she was a daddy's girl from the start.
Yeah. It was just really sweet, and you could hold her, and then she would look right up at you with those big eyes. It was just so expressive, and she knew how to communicate early with the gifts that she'd been given.
We spent most of our time holding her, cuddling with her, and then appointments had to start, and so we had to start taking her out and about. To us, she was our
little baby.
Yeah, amazing little baby that had been through so much and wasn't expected to survive birth, and she did. And so we saw strength and beauty, but the only thing people saw when we would bring her out were her differences. And I'm holding my baby and watching people stare at her and react to her in a negative way. And sometimes it was just curiosity, but sometimes, you know, people were very rude.
At some point, we would take her out to the grocery store or something like that, and I was just wanting her to be out like normal, because that's what you do with your child. You know, I remember putting her on the baby carrier, walking her around the neighborhood, or if we would go on a trip to the mountains. I remember those things, but then coupled with each one of those stories is another story about, you know, somebody, you know, looking and saying something, or maybe you know, whispering to one of their friends and then pointing. And
I remember a moment when we took Sophia to Philadelphia and Mark had her in the carrier, and these two girls, they walked by and screamed at the top of their lungs. They startled
me and
all
Sophia,
of us.
yeah.
Sophia jumped and they just started laughing. And I remember going to the hotel room and just crying.
You know, that's the thing, we never knew what the reaction was going to be. And so at the same time we had that really kind of horrible reaction, this one lady had made it a point to stop me and say to Sophia, "You're amazing and you're beautiful. I'm happy that you're here." And you try not to judge people for how they respond, because, you know, we've had time to adjust, obviously, to who she is, and they were for the first time seeing something very different. But at the same time, I think we can all do better and just understand that, you know, we are all different in various ways. It was both really high highs and really dark lows that year for me. It just it was a tough lesson to learn for a new parent.
Who is that? Say hey. Say hello. Hi. Hey. Talk for the camera.
Hi, my name's Anthony. I'm Sophia's cousin. I'm 17 years old, 5 years older than Sophia, and Natalie is my aunt. First time I met Sophia, she was 1 month old, and I met her when she got to her house for the first time, and I thought she was really cute. I just thought she had a cute nose, cute eyes, and she was cute all around, so the facial differences weren't really anything to me. She was still my cousin no matter what.
Okay, Sophia's gonna be on the video, okay? Peace out. Hey, wanna jump? Wanna jump? Boing, 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 boing.
I fell in love with her, and she was really fun to be around. When she was really young, I used to hold her and feed her bottle. We went on a lot of walks. We had a ball pit that we played in, and then we had an inflatable pool. No different from anyone else. You could tell if she wanted something and if she didn't, just by her facial expressions and by her eyes and by the noises she would make. So, I mean, to me, it wasn't that difficult to know what she wanted to do and what she didn't want to do. Life without Sophia, it's not the same anymore, because every time I would come in to the house, I would usually say hi to everyone, but not saying hi to Sophia. It was kind of weird not seeing her. No matter the way you look, no matter what disabilities, you're still a human being. So treat them the same way, and to always just live in the moment, because you don't know how much time you have, and just be around people you love.
Supergirl, da-na-na-na-na. Supergirl, da-na-na-na-na.
Whee! Here you go. Yeah? Hey!
My name is Morgan. I'm 12 years old and I'm 9 months apart from Sophia, and Sophia's my cousin. When I was growing up with Sophia, we always had the funnest times because she was the closest in age to me, and we would always play together, we would read together, and like she would crawl around with me, and I could just teach her little things around whenever I was playing with her. So we like to do arts and crafts a lot because whenever her therapist would come over, she would usually do arts and crafts with her, and then I would join in the arts and crafts. She really liked when I would read to her, so I would always read to her, and then we would play downstairs in the toy room or something like that. I remember when Sophia was first born, and it was just like, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so I have a cousin that's a little bit younger than me. So I was super excited, and I was really excited to have a new cousin that I could play with and I could talk with and everything like that. I think I was probably about like 2 or something when I realized that she is different than us, but it didn't really faze me that much because I grew up with her, so I thought she was exactly like us. But whenever I did realize, it didn't change anything with me and her. I just realized that not everyone looks the exact same. So growing up with Sophia, it made me see that everyone might not be the exact same, but even though they might have their differences and things, that it means that they're still all equal and everything. And if I do see someone in public or at school that does have a disability, it doesn't make me think twice about how they look or anything. It makes me want to go more over there to talk to them and, you know, what their name is, what are their hobbies, things like that, to learn more about them. Because since I was growing up with Sophia, I'm just used to seeing her, you know, it didn't like make me think twice about how she is different.
And one of the main reasons I am sharing our lives with you is to normalize facial differences and profound disabilities. Every time we would go out with her, it was new people seeing her for the first time. And you can't look to your neighbor or even within your community and see someone with facial differences and profound disabilities all the time. So oftentimes this is the first time someone is seeing someone like this. And what I believe is that you start as young as possible and share people with your children that have facial differences and disabilities. All types. I had to with my own children share with them different types of facial differences and disabilities. I made it a priority in my home, and I hope that you will make that commitment to do the same. And if we all do that, then people with disabilities and facial differences won't be treated in a negative way. You'll notice in the pictures the redness, and basically she didn't have skin covering the lower part of her eyes. And we had taken her to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where they had a specialist, an oculoplastic surgeon. And one of the concerns is keeping the eyes moisturized and keeping them from being damaged. So there was a chance that she could have lost her vision. So we decided that she would need this surgery so that she wouldn't lose her vision. We didn't want her to lose any abilities that she had. I remember us going back to the room to get her prepped for surgery and just trying to be as happy and positive as we could. But it was so scary for us because we knew that her airway was different and that could cause some issues with intubating her. So that was really our first experience of, you know, having someone take her away from us, and she was gone for about 7 hours total. And yeah, we didn't know what to expect when we saw her again.
It's hard to see anything like that done to your child.
Yeah.
You know, even though we know it was the right thing to do and it's something that was going to help her. Thankfully it did, and you know, she had good eyesight for the rest of her life. She was so tough and she was so strong. After all she'd been through and all the medicines leaving your body after that long procedure, she laughed, and she almost gave us permission to exhale and know that, you know, maybe it was going to be okay, and maybe she was going to be okay, and you know, keep doing what people said she wasn't going to do, and that was, you know, thriving and surviving and doing great, and she did that for 10.5 years.
Oh. This is very different from the earlier videos you're took.
That's right. Careful. Yeah.
You love that. Oh, thank you. She pulled my face in and everything.
Sophia.
Give Mom a kiss. Ow, she's pulling my head in.
Good job, Sophia.
twisting my neck. Give Mom a kiss.
Kiss.
Give Mom a kiss.
Say hi. Say bye-bye.
Welcome to episode 5 of Grow With Sophia. I call this one the golden years because it was the first 2 years of Sophia's life where her sweet and sassy personality were emerging every single day. And we had gotten her home and took her on trips and enjoyed life together and watched her develop and grow. And it was a lot of fun. I remember having a lot of alone time with Sophia. Mark had to go back to work eventually, and we just got to spend a lot of time together getting to know each other. Oh, nothing. Sophie's just... She's been rolling on her stomach really good and just having a good time. Hey, Dada. Let me put you on speaker. It's Daddy.
Baby girl.
It was our first experience with medical things, and it was really difficult to let our daughter go for surgeries, and she had to have a few to straighten her feet because we wanted to give her the opportunity to be able to stand, build strength, and maybe walk in the future. We weren't sure if she would be able to or not, but we wanted to give her the opportunity to try.
Good job.
Come on, girl. Hey.
Go get Dada.
Go get it.
I remember taking her on her very first beach trip, and she absolutely loved the water, and that's where we discovered her love for the water. And till the end of her life, she spent a lot of time in water floating. It was a great time for her body to relax and be comfortable, and she loved to splash and get water everywhere during bath time and in the pool. This was a really fun time for us because we took her on many little adventures, and the mountains were her favorite place because she had sensitivity to light. Being in the mountains was nice because it was shaded by trees, and so we would take her on hikes and fun walks around nature, and she really enjoyed looking around and enjoying the sounds. Ever since I brought Sophia home from the hospital, I always worried and wondered how long we had with her. And I would ask doctors every time that we had an appointment if they had any idea, if they could help tell me what her prognosis was, and no one knew. A lot of her tests were coming back, and they came back negative for any type of conditions.
Blow kisses. Good girl.
I wasn't sure that she was going to make it to her first birthday, but she did, and we celebrated her life. And it was always in the back of my mind, is she going to make it to her next birthday? And let's celebrate as if this is her last birthday, because no one really knew. And so she had a ladybug themed birthday party and outfit changes and 3 birthday cakes that I baked her, and we celebrated big time. And every year leading up to her birthdays would bring that same anxiety and fear that she wasn't going to make it to that birthday, or is this going to be her last birthday? But nonetheless, we celebrated and always had an amazing time with Sophia and let her know that she was deeply loved and cherished.
I didn't bring it.
Yay! Look at Sophie. Yeah, her hat's on.
How are you doing?
Here we go.
I remember she got into Elmo and TV shows, and she really enjoyed watching shows that had music to it. And she would just tap her hands and stomp to the beat. Elephant. Elephant. You gonna dance? You wanna? It was really amazing to watch Sophia, and she was developing typically and playing and loved music and dancing and laughing and had her favorite toys and contraptions that she would play with. We realized pretty early on that life around us was not accessible to Sophia, and so we tried to make our world in our home very accessible. We also realized that when we were taking Sophia out to run errands or do anything, many times she would come home and catch something from being out, and having a cold was much more difficult for Sophia because of the way that her mouth was, and it caused a lot of breathing issues. So we had to keep her safe and protected. We also discovered Sophia's sensitivity to light, and sometimes taking her out in the sun was painful for her eyes. So we figured out ways to make our home filled with fun, things to do like swinging and riding bicycles and other fun activities. I remember just sitting with Sophia for hours and just watching her have fun and laugh and play, and she would make us laugh, and she had the amazing ability to just make you live in the moment with her, and we cherished every moment. I'm gonna do it again? Are you done? There's Dada. Say that once she sees the camera, she stops. Whatever you're doing. Yes, you need to eat.
You want some baba?
It was so much fun to spend holidays with Sophia and dress her up, and I remember she loved Halloween.
Say hi. Hi. There you go. Where are you going? There you go. Good job. Come get me.
And though we did have stressful times and a lot of medical appointments, we managed to have a lot of fun. And that's thanks to Sophia, because she was always laughing and smiling and enjoying cuddling with us and spending time together.
You say hi. Pick her up. Dada.
Can I get you?
Dada.
Ready to get up? Okay. Hey. Whoa. Really? Got those knees?
We discussed the fact that Sophia was one of a kind, and we were told that it was very possible that there was a spontaneous genetic change. Mark and I were tested, and there was nothing hereditary found. And so we decided that we were going to have another child. We wanted to grow our family, and we wanted Sophia to have a sibling, and it was really important to us. And so we got pregnant and found out we were pregnant with a little boy. Although it was very exciting to be pregnant again, it was very scary. And my doctor understood this, and she was amazing and allowed us to get ultrasounds when we wanted to make sure that Alex was doing great, and he was. Sophia was amazed by her little brother, and she really loved being a big sister to both Alex and Lyla. She was so sweet and gentle. One of the reasons we decided it was a good time to have another child is because Sophia was doing really well. She was healthy and developing, and all of her tests came back negative for any type of syndromes or medical conditions. And we had no way of knowing that right around the corner, the syndromes and medical conditions would begin to present themselves in her. And that was the start of many different medical issues.
Baba.
Hi, welcome to the Grow With Sophia series. This episode is about Alex and Sophia. We were ready to add to our family. We always wanted several children, and we didn't want our plans to change.
You want to touch Dad
Sophia was doing really well, and at that point and stage in her life, we thought the only challenges that she would face were the differences to her face, hands, and feet. And so we decided it was time, and it was exciting and scary, and I would get ultrasounds anytime I felt worried, and they would let me see his face and make sure that he was okay. And once he arrived, it was an amazing time, and we were so excited to have him. The experience of giving birth to Alex versus Sophia was extremely different. There was a lot of fear involved with not knowing whether Sophia was going to make it or not. But I remember when he was born, I was waiting to hear his cry, and we finally did. So I remember bringing Sophia into the hospital, and she just got a kick out of seeing her brother and thought, she would look at me like, who is this? What is this? And I just remember bringing him home and how excited she was. Though I think there was a point where she's like, okay, are you going to take him back? And then she just realized he was here to stay, and he was her little brother, and she would hold him, and they spent a lot of time together. And at this stage, Sophia was around 2 years old when he was born, and she began to have these crying spells, nonstop crying spells. And it wasn't like she was in pain. I could differentiate the types of cries that she had. It was more of a frustration. And at first I thought she was jealous of the new baby, but it began to happen more often. And later on in life, we realized that it was because of Rett syndrome. It's called the regression stage, where children around the age of 2 begin to lose their skills, and it's very frustrating and scary. And so we had Alex home, a new child, then Sophia's issues started to begin. And that was really difficult.
My name is Alex. I'm Sophia's little brother, and we were 21 months apart.
If Sophia could hear you, what would you tell her?
Probably just like, I'm doing good and I miss you.
Yeah. Hi. Hey! Miffy!
It's a cookie bake set.
Oh.
Yay! You can pretend like you're baking.
What were some things you played when you were younger?
I mean, when I was younger, I used to like climb on her, and she used to try to like bite. I used to try to like bite her, and she like to scratch me with her nails and stuff. But like we sometimes played like I pretended that she hit me really hard, and I like flew backwards and stuff. We just had a lot of fun, and yeah, I missed that.
What's that, Alex? What's that?
What was your favorite thing about Sophia?
I mean, she was just sweet. Her laugh was so nice, and like we just like played, and like we had the same sense of humor. It was really fun.
Do you ever remember stressful times when she would need surgeries or serious medical care? Like, what did that feel like to you?
I mean, it's just I was worried all day. Like when I went to school, like in 3rd grade, I was doing something and I just like couldn't think about the tests and stuff. I was just thinking about if Sophia did good. And like when we first get home off the bus, I just ran home and went to go see her.
So, you know, I had to spend a lot of time with Sophia with medical stuff, and I always like to do special things for you and spend time with you and make sure you know that you were loved just as much. And one of my favorite memories is the basketball thing.
Oh yeah. So my birthday, I got like a lot of signatures from like good NBA players like Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard. And I mean, that was the best birthday I've ever had. And I got some video messages from other NBA players wishing me happy birthday, which that was amazing too.
What's up, Alex? This is Vince Carter here. Titus O'Neil reached out to me and told me your story. I was so moved by it, I wanted to wish you a happy, happy birthday. You're turning 8, right? Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy it, my man. You deserve it.
Hey, Alex. This is John here. I just wanted to say happy birthday. Heard you've been a great big brother. Got my boy Larry here. He wants to say happy birthday.
What up, Alex, man? Hope you have a happy birthday and enjoy your day.
All right. Have a good
I don't think Alex really thought about or cared about the fact that Sophia was different. When he got a little bit older, he had some questions here and there and would point and touch her teeth and things like that. And we would always just tell him, this is the way she was born. This is who Sophia is. It's a part of her. And I don't think it meant anything to him until he was old enough to start having friends around, and the friends would react to her. At what point do you remember thinking, oh, she's different than everyone else? Can you remember back to that time?
Probably when the first time somebody not made fun of me, but just said something about it, like somebody said, oh, your sister's weird, and I just really had to take time to just think about why'd they say that.
And that's when I noticed a change and a worry. Are people going to laugh at me? And those types of things. It does hurt my heart that the only time it bothered him that his sister was different is because of the way other people reacted to her. What was the hardest part about being Sophia's brother?
Probably the people making fun of her right in front of my face. That hurt me. I try not to cry, but sometimes I did. It's just that's what everybody talked about, and it was they're making fun of me. But I always looked at her as like the same person as I look at everybody else that I love. It's just, yeah.
The older the kids get, the more clever they become with their insults. And Alex is no angel. There is nothing different about him in that sense. He is a typical kid. He makes bad decisions. He might treat someone unkind. He might have issues with kids at school. And oftentimes the kid's first go-to insult is something about his sister who has passed away. Or I've seen parents and kids be very judgmental because the work that I do, that's put on him. So if he acts out in a way that is less than kind, then that's another insult that I hate, that pressure is on him and those judgments. He is a typical kid, just like anyone else, and he has to learn and grow and make mistakes.
Now that you're old enough to be on social media and read comments, what do you think about the mean comments that people make about her? Like, how do you take it?
I mean, it's kind of like, and it's not worth it. It's just like, they have nothing better to do with their lives, so it's just like, leave it alone or just leave the comments. I don't want to like start like a big fight with them.
Mm-hmm. What about all the wonderful, loving comments, like when you did special books by special kids and people were talking about you as a brother and they just love Sophia, and how did that make you feel?
I mean, it made me feel good, yeah, to know that people out there like care for me and Sophia, and you know, that's when I knew that not just only people around me had my back, it's everybody who said that.
Makes her super beautiful, and I think the way she is way beautifuler than I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Why? Because she always brings happiness into my heart. She always gives a smile on her face. She's always happy. She's never sad. And if I have a bad day, if I look at her, she's the first person that I see when I get home, and she just makes my day refresh and all of the good stuff.
What's some of the nicest things your friends have done for you in regards to Sophia?
Like my friends now, like at my new school, like they're just like very caring, and like they like wear Sophia's voice stuff, and you know, I really appreciate them for that. I was young, so like I couldn't really I didn't know how to ask the questions, like see if she was gonna be alive longer than like I thought, like if she was gonna be there with my whole life or shorter than that. So it's kind of like, this is hard because I just wanted to know if she was gonna be with me her whole life or not. Mm-hmm. That was just what I wanted to know.
When you found out that she wasn't gonna be with you for your whole life, what did that feel like?
I mean, it felt bad. It was just like, I just wanted to spend as much time as I could with her before she passed.
Something to say.
You know, walking into that room and not seeing her there, it made my heart feel bad, and it's just, I don't know, I didn't really understand it. I didn't really understand what was happening. So, and then once I really processed it, it just hit me that I'm never gonna see her again. And yeah.
What do you miss most about her?
Her sweet laugh, and just how that me and her had a connection that nobody really could break. It was just when I got home, she used to call my name, and she could just tell that I'm ready to come upstairs and go play with her and laugh with her.
And it's really hard to watch your child, who deserves nothing but a carefree, happy life, go through something that is so difficult. And we made sure that we all had grief counseling, and he had grief counseling, and anything that he needed. And I'm just so proud of the boy that he has become, almost teenager, and he's just such a special person, and I'm so proud of him, and I'm so glad Sophia had a beautiful, sweet brother like him.
I wish you all just met her. It's just she changed my life so much. It's insane how sweet she is, and she tries to I don't know, she's just super sweet, and I try to be just like her, and I try to just stay strong, and whenever I have hard stuff, I just think how brave she was going through surgeries, and that makes me push through with a lot of stuff.
It's really sweet, buddy.
Thanks.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Grow With Sophia series. This is episode 7, which I can't believe, and it's called Diagnosis Downfall. This episode's a little bit different for me. In the past, going through memories, I have a huge smile on my face and it just floods in really happy memories. But this episode is going to condense several years together. For several reasons, it's a difficult thing for me to see Sophia get diagnosed with these life-limiting illnesses, and at the time I employed the use of toxic positivity as my way to survive and to get through and to get out of bed every day. And it's not necessarily bad. Positivity is a good thing, but what I did was deny all of the sad emotions, the fear, the pain, and I don't regret it because I had to continue to be a mom. I had to be strong for Sophia going through these surgeries or different tests that she had to experience. And so I did what I had to do. I probably didn't unleash those repressed emotions until 2016 when I became a public advocate. And I'll save that all for another episode down the road. It's hard to revisit these memories that a lot of them I blocked out.
But something that I did realize while revisiting some of these repressed memories is that it also repressed some of the good memories during this time, and there were so many of them. I am in awe of how Sophia handled all of these new complications arising, and proud of the way Mark and I handled it, because we just accepted her abilities and we accepted the fact that she was regressing, and we continued to adapt to her and adapted things to her to make life work for us. And we still went on trips and laughed and had a lot of fun and managed to balance everything during this time. So I'm glad that having to revisit sad emotions, I'm glad that it brought up these good memories as well, because I didn't realize that I had forgotten them because they were in the same time frame. So I will start this episode answering the most commonly asked question, and that is, what is Sophia's diagnosis? But first, I want to mention that when she was born, these conditions did not present themselves, and so she had no diagnosis until she was 3 years old. And none of these conditions were caused by anything other than a spontaneous genetic change, and they were not hereditary. And the first diagnosis she received was the diagnosis of an immune deficiency. It was rare and didn't have a name because she didn't have any B cells, and it affected other parts of her immune system. And then soon after, we realized that she was having seizures. And at 5 years old, we had a name for why her skills were regressing, and that was Rett syndrome. And basically, Rett syndrome doesn't typically begin to present itself until 2 years old, and slowly your child loses the skills that they gained. They're developing typically, and then all of a sudden
that changes, and their ability to use their hands. And for Sophia, she started to lose the ability to hold her head up. It caused seizures, tremors. It affects the autonomic system, which is your body that automatically breathes. It automatically swallows. Your heart automatically beats. And Rett syndrome can cause your body to forget that. And so there would be breathless moments or swallowing difficulty, which is why she had to get her feeding tube put back in. And she also was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. But later on, we had a scientist who researched her DNA and tissue, and her, along with maybe a dozen others, has an immune deficiency that is what caused her facial differences, hand-foot differences, and some other things. Though I have made the choice not to share the name of that syndrome because there were things about Sophia that were very personal that I chose not to share. And now that this syndrome is a published syndrome, those details are out there, and I think those are too private to share, so I will keep that to ourselves. But it is the syndrome that caused her immune deficiency, lack of B cells, and caused the differences to her face, hands, and feet. There are other cases like her, Sophia's had the most prominent changes in appearance. I remember the first time Mark went out of town, and I had Alex in my arms and I had Sophia in my arms, and you will see in many pictures I'm holding both of them for years and years. And it was one night I was sitting there by myself, and both Sophia and Alex started crying at the same time. And I remember feeling helpless, and I would have to take turns with who I could help and assist. And this was kind of the beginning of the regression stage for Sophia. And it was all a part of Rett syndrome, which we didn't know about until she was 5 years old. So at 2, she began having moments of regression, but she still was doing great and was healthy. And I remember taking her to an appointment, and someone had mentioned this North Carolina program for children with disabilities that gave Sophia extra assistance. And basically Sophia had great private insurance, but there was so much that they don't cover. And this program covered the costs that our private insurance wouldn't, and also services that it wouldn't, like medical equipment, wheelchairs, different things like that, bath chairs.
Say hi, Papa. Say hi, Papa. No, he's not here. Hey.
The most important part of this program was that it provided in-home nursing assistance, and it allowed us to set up our home in a medical type way so that Sophia could have everything she needed at home and get the care that she needed at home. And I remember when we signed up and Sophia was approved, and we had the first nursing assistant scheduled to come out the next day. And I remember that night just crying and crying because I felt like I had failed because I wasn't able to care for both of my children without help. And then we met Ella, and she changed our lives for the better.
Hello. Yeah. Buckle. Lily, 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 Lily.
Say hey. Hey, Ashley.
Hey, Sophia.
Hey.
And Ella was the very first nursing assistant that was with us, and she was there till the very end. And when I say the end, I mean the moment that Sophia was no longer with us and her presence was valued and appreciated and needed. She changed our family and allowed us to have typical moments and to be able to function as a family together. And Ella was just the most amazing person. And throughout the years, we had so many amazing women a part of our families and in our home. And it just made a really huge difference in our lives. And as Sophia was diagnosed with certain medical conditions like her immune deficiency, you know, taking her out wasn't possible without risking her life. So we were able to do things and take our son out and take him to the park and know that Sophia was being cared for and played with at home. We are forever grateful to Ella, and just one of the most dependable, amazing, strong women that I've ever had the honor of being around. So I remember when I had Sophia, I would always ask doctors, like, how much time do I have with her? I wasn't sure if she would make it to her first birthday, and when she finally did and met that milestone and then began to develop typically in her own way and was playing with toys and talking and able to eat on her own. We actually had her feeding tube removed. She was just doing really well, and her and her brother loved playing together.
Anthony! Anthony!
Oh, so you splashed all over me.
Alex! Are you saying Alex?
Yeah. You called me. So called Alex. Alex. Alex.
Okay, let's go forward.
I hate Sophia. How's Sophia dingies?
What's Alex doing?
And Sophia turned 3 years old, and she had a sweet little birthday celebration, and we had no idea that this birthday would mark the last of her life without medical complications and different medical issues every single year added on. It wasn't until she was 3 years old that she was diagnosed with her immune deficiency. And I remember she had fevers for 5 months long. And I kept taking her to different specialists, doctor's appointments, tests. And that's when I realized I really have to become a forceful advocate for my daughter. And I said she needs to be in the hospital. She needs tests run. I can't keep waiting week to week for different specialists. And this isn't typical for her to have fevers nonstop for this long. And so she had really great doctors, and they admitted her to the hospital and began running tests. And I remember at one point saying to a doctor, hey, is it possible she has an immune deficiency? I have been searching and researching just to try to figure things out. And they said, that's highly unlikely. That's so rare. And I said, you know, I really think we should test anyway. Sophia is rare. And they did, and it turns out she had an immune deficiency. It's just one of those memories and one of those moments that shifted me, and I said, you know, I have to be a bit more forceful, and I have to advocate for my daughter. And from that point on, things kind of snowballed, and we started to notice that when she would sit up, she would start to fall back. We noticed a regression in her ability to use her hands and play with things, and she began to drop her head occasionally.
Hey, hold it.
Alex, say hi.
Hi.
I love you. You laughing, Sophia?
And so we had her tested for seizures, and it turned out that she was having really severe seizures. And while she slept, they were happening constantly in her brain. And that was a horrible thing to realize. And that's really when the regression began. And it was moment to moment what her abilities would do and what she could do. And slowly over time, she began to lose those abilities. And I think by the time she was 4, she had to have her feeding tube put back in because she was losing the ability to swallow properly. And it was really difficult to see. It was scary, but we continued to do therapies, and we didn't want her to lose the skills that she had developed at the very least. And we thought, you know, it was still possible to continue the therapies to strengthen her neck. We tried so hard, and little did we know that it wasn't going to be possible because she had a condition that would slowly deteriorate all of her abilities that she had gained. When Sophia was 4, she was having a lot of health issues and wasn't able to hold her food down, and you can see in the images how thin she was. And again, I had to advocate hard and push for her to be admitted into the hospital because we were going from specialist to specialist, and within each appointment are weeks. And my child was going through a lot, and she was losing weight and she was struggling. She also had several surgeries during this time to help relieve her pain. And as I've mentioned before, the only surgeries that she would have were to relieve pain and to make her function better so that life could be more comfortable for her. And it was a difficult time to watch her go through that. But it was very important to me to accept her as she was. And so I pushed away any fears or sadness that I had that she was changing and needing more help. And in the good moments, we had fun and continued to do the things that we loved, like dance parties and celebrations and spend time with family. And she continued to be joyful and continued to laugh and have fun and cuddle and be sweet. And she was handling what was happening to her, although it was frustrating and scary for her. She would live in the moment. Many of those years just felt like I was trying to survive and be the strongest that I could be. And when you are the main caregiver, you push your emotions aside to help your child. As times got difficult and time went on, we realized that we were likely going to lose her. She had the immune deficiency, which was life-limiting. And then when she was 5 years old, she was diagnosed with Rett syndrome, which is what was happening all along, which is what caused the regression of her skills. And so a lot of things came together when we received the Rett syndrome diagnosis. But it was really hard to receive that diagnosis because with that comes the knowledge that these children can pass away and they are at a higher risk for sudden death. Not only because the autonomic system can dysfunction, but because of seizures. And so she had many things that could put her life at risk, and that was a difficult thing to accept. But we did, and you try to live in the moment, but it's always, always on your mind. And you begin to live in a state of hypervigilance and fight or flight, listening for every little sound, and watching everything. So there was a lot of grief involved in receiving life-limiting diagnosis. It was such an opposite feeling at times. We're dealing with so much with Sophia and fear and pain and sadness, and then we had this little light just running around and being sweet and silly. So it was this wonderful balance to have that and put life in perspective and remind you that despite what's going on, you have to continue to live and move forward. And he brought so much joy to Sophia, and she would just laugh at him and they would have fun together. And even though her skills had decreased, it didn't matter. They learned to play with each other in whatever ways they could.
Say hi. Say hi to the camera. You kissing Sophia. Good kiss. Aw, sweet.
Okay, let's go forward.
But when we decided we wanted to have Alex, Sophia was doing really well, and we just thought her challenges would be physical ones. And so we wanted her to have a brother. But when we thought about having another child, it was a very different thought process, because at that point I knew at some point I am going to lose my daughter. And I don't want Alex to be alone and not have a sister or a brother. And so we decided to expand our family, and we had Lyla and completed our family. And it brought a lot of joy to our family, and as promised and demanded, Lyla will be born in the next episode, and that will be hers to share.
Blow Daddy a kiss. Oh, good.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining into episode 8 of the Grow With Sophia series, which includes Lyla. And ever since I started this series, Lyla has asked me repeatedly, when's my episode? And we've been going in consecutive order of the years, and I keep telling her, you're not born yet, you're not born yet. So this is about Lyla and her birth, and their relationship was a really beautiful one, and I'm excited to share it with you, and so is Lyla.
Hi, my name is Lyla, and I'll be 10 in 14 days, and my big sister was Sophia, and she was 5 years apart from me.
So Lyla was born in 2013, and this was a really interesting time for us. Sophia was beginning to have medical issues, and she had several medical conditions that were diagnosed finally. And the decision to have Alex was a very different one than the decision to have Lyla. And when we decided we wanted to have Alex, Sophia was doing great and none of her medical conditions had presented. So she was progressing and developing, and we just thought the challenges that she would face would be her differences to her face, hand, and feet, which we could manage. And we were already adapting things for her to make them work, and she was doing really well.
Hey. Hi. You getting a bath? You are.
The difference in our decision making this time was Sophia began to not do so well. Her health was declining and she was having issues, and she had a rare immune deficiency and had some other issues happening. And since Sophia's birth, I always instinctively knew that she wouldn't be with us forever. And we didn't want Alex to lose his sister and then have no siblings. And so we decided that we wanted to expand our family and have Lyla. and she was a great addition to our family. She is so loving, kind, sassy, and extremely independent, and really would fight for independence at 2 years old. And she's just an amazing sister.
Just want to get a little close. What kind of face is that?
I love you, Neil. I see. Baby don't have penises.
Girls don't. That's right.
I see.
She's a girl.
Baby don't have penises. Only boys have penises. Ah!
Boy babies have penises.
Hey, Sophia.
But she's a girl baby.
She's a girl baby.
Hi. Did you have a good little nap?
So after we had Lyla, I remember us just doing everything together as a family and being as one.
Okay, smile.
Still. Yeah, I feel you pushing. That's good. That medicine help your muscles relax? Huh? Yeah, it did, didn't it?
Are you feeling good?
Are you feeling good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt really good about Sophia being different because I've always thought that you're beautiful the way you are.
I will look like this.
Who doesn't?
Me. He did not look like this.
Oh.
There were a lot of things that Sophia was unable to do because of her medical conditions, and it would put her at risk. But it was really important to Mark and I that our children have a typical life. And so because we had nursing help, we were able to take them to the park, and we were able to go on trips and do things that Sophia might not be able to do. But we worked really hard in giving them a typical life, but also embracing the fact that our life wasn't typical, and knowing that the impact that their sister would have on them would be so wonderful.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lyla. Happy birthday to you.
Come help her blow out the candle. Oh, cool.
What's it say?
That's for all of you. That's for Sophia, Lyla, and it's romping monsters, stomping monsters.
I thought I opened the other one, but I don't know.
Good job.
Is this one mine?
That is a stacking toy, Lyla.
Oh, right. I was going through the past videos and pictures. There were things that I haven't even processed that we went through, and just kind of combining those years and realizing the state of hypervigilance that I was living in and the things that were happening. This time frame was a time of a lot of surgeries, starting with her having to go into the hospital, and the situation where she almost had to be trached and almost died. She was very thin at this time, and I don't share many pictures from this time frame. I remember her just being sick for months and going from specialist to specialist and tests and waiting. And I had to reach out to her pediatrician, and she's an amazing pediatrician. She always listened to me, and I said, we can't keep doing this. She needs to be admitted to the hospital, and we need to figure this out. And we spent 2 weeks in the hospital at that time. I think Lyla was 6 months old. At 5 years old, Sophia had a surgery, and she stopped breathing as they were putting her under, and they had to cut at her neck to try to trach her, but they couldn't cut through, and miraculously she just started to breathe again. And we aren't sure for how long she wasn't breathing, but I remember the anesthesiologist coming to us in the waiting room and letting us know what happened. And I just remember the shock that I felt and the feeling of fear about the fact that I could have lost my child. It was very difficult to go through that, and I remember at some point soon after that, Duke University called. There were specialists that were examining her DNA, and they found out that she had Rett syndrome. And she was 5 years old, and I think it was easily missed because of all of her other conditions and issues going on. And as always, my first thought was, what is the life expectancy of children with Rett syndrome? And in doing my research and talking to the specialist, they are at a higher risk for sudden death. And it explained a lot of the things that she was going through. It also caused loss in swallowing and the ability to. Some moments she could, some moments she couldn't, as well as speaking, using your hands purposefully, holding her head up at times. And it caused seizures, really bad seizures in her. And at this point, Sophia was also developing new symptoms like dystonia and tremors, and her body would shake or tighten up. And there wasn't much that we could do other than hold and comfort her. And it was a really difficult time to watch her go through so many difficult things. But despite all of this news, we continued on as a family and tried to keep things as happy and fun as possible for all of our kids.
Dad, could I have a cookie?
Lyla! Hey, Sophia! What you doing? Hello. Hey. Say, it's Easter Day, 2014. That's 5 years old. Yeah, you're gonna take a quick nap first, and then we're gonna go see Morgan's and her Easter eggs. Does that sound like a good idea?
She's knocking. What do you say now, Sophia? All right. Look, you got some candy. Put it in her pail for her. Yay! Your first house. Okay. What do you say to get some candy? What do you say?
Trick or treat. Trick or treat.
Yay! Okay, we're in the next room. The next house. We gotta knock on the door, Sophia.
Where are you, girl?
We gotta knock on the door.
Come on, Mom again.
Hello. Oh!
Even though we had received the diagnosis of Rett syndrome and knew that over time she would lose most of her skills, she still had moments where she could speak and eat and swallow and even take steps and have purposeful movements. So we continued on with therapies and trying to support her growth.
You're right. Ready? Step. Yay! Step. Come on.
Mimi.
Step.
Mimi.
Good. Step. Yes. Come on, Sophia. Come get a piece of candy. Come get a piece of candy in the kitchen. Good. Come on, get that candy. Do you want cherry flavor? Oh, I think you do. I think you do.
I think you do.
Do you want raspberry flavor? Yes. Do you want bubblegum flavor? Whoa. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's getting you, huh? You gonna get Alex, Sophia? Aw, that's sweet.
Some of my favorite memories of Sophia was when we would get in our aunt's pool and swim around.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like always matching and we were doing everything together. A funny memory we've had was when I had like a Chick-fil-A cup and she knocked it over with her hands.
You trying to knock her drink? Good job, Sos. Oh! Good job! Are you just gonna get her? Oh! Get your sister. Yay! Are you getting your sister?
She's like getting my sister. She's like, literally was like that. Get me, it doesn't hurt.
Is that funny to you that you're getting your sister?
So me and Sophia would like have like a spa day. I would brush her hair, I would like dress her, and I would even take stuff out of her closet. We would like get in the pool together, and we do all kinds of fun stuff like shake her maracas and listen to music.
Turn the chair around so she can see. Where do you see an Easter egg, Sophia? Do you see an Easter egg? Did you find another one? Did you? Yeah, you.
I found it.
Yay!
Good job.
Also, I like love to read her books. Like the books that I like to read, I usually just read them to her, and she liked that. And I used to like plug my iPad into like my headphones, and I would like grab her wheelchair, and we would like dance and sing together. She began to have more choking spells. And this is a question I get a lot about her mouth. Her mouth did not cause her any pain. It's just the way it was formed. She has lips on the outside and it doesn't cover her teeth, and a little cute little button chin. But what was happening is she was growing. Her tongue was growing at a normal rate, but her jaw was recessed and it was not growing. And so it was causing her to choke. And so it was growing out and down. And so in these images, you'll notice her mouth is more wide open, her tongue is out, and that's because she was losing space, and it was just the way it was gonna grow is open and out. And so she had to have a jaw distraction surgery. And it was probably the most traumatic surgery. And after that one, I vowed to never do that again. And so basically, before she had the jaw distraction surgery, she had the metal hooks put in. And people asked me about those with the rubber bands. And basically what that was meant to do was to close her mouth up and to stabilize it. And so when it would grow, it wouldn't grow down and out, that it would grow together. It also helped her swallow better. And so that's why she had the metal hooks and the little rubber bands, because it helped stabilize her jaw and stopped it from growing in the wrong direction that would push the tongue and cause her to choke. And it was just traumatic. And I knew that that was never gonna happen again. She was never gonna get a surgery like that. And it just brought on some realizations that the surgeries that are available at this point to help her are really traumatic, and they are no longer just to take away pain, and they're kind of taking away from her quality of life. And so we noticed that Sophia was in pain when we would move her, and so anytime she was in pain, we would make appointments with every single specialist, because it was my job to find out where the pain was. And we could do scans and we could ask her, and she would give us looks. She would be able to help us figure out where the pain was. Can you tell mommy what hurts on you? Hip. And so we would go see specialists, rule things out, and then we found out that her hip was out of the joint and it had been worn down so bad. She had also developed scoliosis, as children with Rett syndrome do. And so her spine was curving, which pulled her hip out and caused friction. And so she had to have a hip surgery to have a metal bracket put in. And this was the surgery that we actually printed out her heartbeat, that I have the logo to our organization and the tattoo. And I didn't realize it until I looked back at the pictures, but it's a pretty significant surgery because she did not recover like she usually did.
when Sophia would have surgeries, the next day she would act as if everything was fine. She recovered quickly, she would bounce back, she was in good spirits, but this one was very different. She had to remain in casts and braces for a while. And I just knew that something was different with her, and she didn't come out of anesthesia like she normally does and had struggles and issues. And I just knew that her body was changing. And this was the point that I was realizing she was beginning to decline. And this was the beginning of her starting to die. However many years that was going to take, I didn't know, but I knew that it was the point of doing well, having issues, and then the decline. I had to be in tune with her body and what it was going through, and so I was very aware. And at the same time, she was having choking spells and issues, and we took her to see her specialist and the surgery options that they gave us to help her, because like I said, her tongue was growing and she was losing space in her throat. And the options were horrific. And I said, I am not gonna do this to my child. I promised her I would listen to her, and I know that her body is changing and it's becoming tired. And I talked to her pulmonologist, who was an amazing doctor who covered kind of everything about her body. And he was very supportive in the decision to say no more surgeries. And he called hospice and had them come in, and Kids Path came in and they helped. And during the very overwhelming time, they took care of so many things like her medication, her medical supplies. But the interesting part to having hospice come in and me knowing in my heart that I was saying, we can't keep doing this. This is too much. I kept that to myself. I told everyone else that they were just coming in to help while she was going through a hard time. And I don't know why I did that. I think I wasn't wanting to accept what I already knew. And so I just kept it all to myself, which is what I would do often. And just tried to pretend that everything was okay. I just wanted to feel normal. And so that's what I did. I lived in avoidance quite a bit and tried to act like I was completely fine. And I did that a lot. When you're going through those types of things, you, as a mom, have to be strong, and you have to do whatever you have to do to survive and be a good mom and help your child through whatever it is that they need, also while carrying in your head the trauma.
I felt really sad for her because I didn't know how she was feeling, but also I'm very proud of her because she is a very brave person. I helped with medical stuff, but not the serious stuff, but I would check her heartbeat, and then I would tell Mom how it is.
When she grows up, she's gonna be like Morgan. You probably don't know who Morgan is, right?
I really enjoyed being a part of all the interviews, and on the SBSK interview, I was saying funny stuff like her feet are so small, and when I'm 16, she's gonna be 80.
You play together?
Yes, we play, and we usually play when Simon says,
Fox, what time it is, and
she said that she wanted to be a doctor when she grows up. Special needs doctor.
so I can take care of my own sister.
When I heard about when she died, I didn't really get it that much because I was really young, but I didn't really I didn't get it, and I just got really sad because I just didn't know what to think about it. I didn't know if I should have been really sad and cry about her, or I should just been in shock. And she got this Sophia doll, and I would jump on the trampoline with it, and I did gymnastics, so I would make it do the splits, and we would do almost a lot of things together. And we have these like clothes for her, and I would like change her and do all that stuff. It was important to me so I like took her like a lot of places with me because it just like looked so much like Sophia and it just reminded me like her. My favorite things about Sophia is she was really funny and she's really kind and she was kind of sassy, but I really liked that about her. The things that I miss most about Sophia is just her positive attitude, like, and also whenever I would wake up, I would just go see her and then like make videos with her, and it'd be so much fun. Sophia taught me how to be a brave girl and how to take bad things and turn them into good things. I miss having a sister because like it's a girl and like we would do everything together, but also having a brother is just like, once you've had a brother for a long time, you just get used to it, and once you haven't had a sister for a long time, you also get used to it, but I would always love to have a sister like Sophia.
Good.
Hi, welcome to episode 9 of the Grow With Sophia series. This is the second to last episode, and this one will be a little bit different because I will share a lot about my experience of going from a stay-at-home mom to working full-time to advocate for Sophia's life-saving healthcare. I thought it would be appropriate to share the second to last Grow With Sophia series on Mother's Day, since this episode is focused on me and the work that I began doing in order to fight for Sophia's life-saving healthcare. I also didn't realize until I was putting the episode together that Mother's Day is very significant for me. The first interview I ever gave was around Mother's Day, and the very first speech that I gave on Capitol Hill was a year later, before Mother's Day weekend. May is also the month that we lost Sophia, and we are going on 5 years this month. And like every May, we are raising funds through my organization, Sophia's Voice, to help others with disabilities pay for medical expenses. And over the years, we have helped hundreds of people. And if you'd like to donate in Sophia's memory, you can go to www.sophias-voice.com. So for this episode, I want to backtrack just a little bit to the last episode that we did where Sophia had to have a surgery on her hip to have a bracket placed. Can you tell Mommy what hurts on you?
Hip.
And from that point on, her recovery wasn't like they used to be. She used to bounce back and recovering really quickly. But I noticed a big difference in her with this one, and recovery was slow and she was struggling. And at that time, she was also starting to have really bad seizures again, very frequently. And then I realized that this was the beginning of her decline. And I didn't want to admit that to myself, but when I met with some doctors to talk about her choking spells that were increasing again, the options that I was given to fix this were really horrible, painful surgeries that I was not willing to put Sophia through. And I started to begin to realize that we were getting in the area of doing these really painful, life-extending surgeries that would add to her pain and not necessarily give her the best function in life. And so I knew I was going to say no to those types of surgeries. She was also having issues because of her scoliosis. It was getting worse and closer bend to her lungs, which is dangerous. And she was having the increased seizures. And I remember we admitted her to the hospital with her neurologist, and they were going to switch her to a ketogenic diet. And they were going to monitor her when they did this, and she had a really unexpected and bad reaction. She turned blue, her vitals were off, And that is how we found out she had type 1 diabetes as well. So pain was increasing, issues were increasing, the solutions for it were absolutely horrible and not something I was willing to put my daughter through. So in discussing this with her pulmonologist, he said that we might want to include Kids Path, which is a pediatric hospice program. And in my mind, I wasn't sure she was going to get better at that time. And we had decided that we weren't going to do any of those horrible surgeries. And I thought that this could possibly mean that she would die, but I did not want to accept that yet. But I did have hospice come in to help us. And I told everyone it was just because she was having a lot of issues and needed coordinated care. I wasn't ready to share that I had made the decisions that I wasn't going to do these other surgery options for her. And luckily she surprised us all and got better, and she graduated from hospice. But I always knew deep down that this was the beginning of slowly losing her. And I did not want to admit that. And at the same time, while all of this is going on, I remember I had ran to Starbucks and my mom was with Sophia, and I received a call from Sophia's case manager who managed the secondary program that provides life-saving healthcare for Sophia, helps cover costs that our private insurance wouldn't, and allowed us to have nursing aides in our home to help watch Sophia because she needed to be watched 24/7. And she stated that the state, the people within this program, had decided to decrease the life-saving healthcare services by up to half for thousands of disabled children in North Carolina. And my heart sank. And I felt like there's nothing that I can do. This is going to change our lives. This is going to put Sophia's life at risk. I just remember feeling really lost and upset and worried about the future of Sophia's life, my family's life. And then I remember getting a second call, and she said, hey, let me give you the name of these two moms that have created a Facebook page to share information about this and to fight back against it. And so I went home and I looked up the page, and I was reading through the post, knew I wanted to get involved and help. And I said, I'm here to help. What can I do? And they said, you know, we really need somebody to go on the news so that people understand what is happening, and we need someone to share their story. And I remember typing in the comment box that if no one else will go on the news, if you can't find anyone else, I will do it. And then I deleted it and thought about it. Up until that point, I had chosen to live a more private life. I only had a private Facebook page that family followed for updates on Sophia, and a Caring Bridge page, because we had taken Sophia out into the world and people were cruel and hateful, and the experience was a negative one, and I never wanted Sophia to experience that. And I knew that her time was limited on earth, and I just wanted her to be surrounded by love and adoration. And in that moment, I typed it out again, and I said, I have to do this. I am willing to do whatever it takes to protect my daughter and her life. And I typed it out and I said, I will go on the news. And I remember reaching out to a news station, and they were interested in sharing the story. I remember the time being set up, and it was rush hour when they were coming, so they were saying they were running late. It was something I had never done, never wanted to do. I just wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And while I was a fierce advocate for Sophia her entire life, it was done privately. And I had to get over so many fears and insecurities to become the person that she needed me to be in that moment. And I remember sweating and shaking and trying to desperately think of ways to get out of doing this interview and thinking, how can I cancel as they're on the way? And they got there, and I sat down, I gave my interview. It was all a blur.
Always in the back of my head, I don't know if it's going to be the last picture we take of her or her last birthday.
Inside this Cornelius home, you'll find a family who has learned to savor every last second.
There is a constant panic And you have to learn how to calm it so that you can live happily day to day.
Sophia is Natalie and Mark Weaver's firstborn.
She is at a high risk for sudden death, so she needs to be watched.
Every moment of every day and night, Sophia needs eyes on her little body.
There have been many times where she just stops breathing.
For years, North Carolina's Department of Medical Assistance has helped provide around-the-clock nursing care and equipment, which is the reason this family can keep their girl at home. And this mom is tirelessly fighting against the cuts. She says without the services, hundreds of families statewide may be forced to institutionalize their children, a choice she can't imagine having to make.
It's really hard to fight for our child's life every day, and now we're fighting for their services so that they can stay alive.
And then I remember watching the interview and thinking, wow, I did a good job. I can't believe it. I look like I know what I'm doing. And really, I did know what I was doing. I was advocating for my daughter. It was just, I was doing it publicly now. And I knew that I would receive hate from that, and I didn't know how I would react. And I remember the very first hateful post, someone said, "You should have left her in the hospital to die." And I thought, wow, that hurts. But I quickly got over it, and I realized that I could deal with the hate. And I had been avoiding it Sophia's entire life because it really did hurt me a lot when I would experience it, when I would take her out. But this time I felt stronger, and more hate would come in, but it wasn't too bad. Most people were so loving and supportive and kind and joined our fight to stop our state from decreasing these life-saving healthcare services for thousands of kids in North Carolina. And we went to meetings with the state, and within 6 weeks we stopped them from what they had planned on doing. And for the first time I found my voice and was unafraid to use it, and I felt more like myself than I had ever been. And so when 2017 rolled around and the current administration was working to repeal some of the healthcare protections that were in place for people with pre-existing conditions and disabilities, I knew that I was prepared and able to join the fight to stop that from happening. And I felt like I had the experience at that point and the confidence that I was able to do it. And I was asked to go to Capitol Hill to give a speech about the impact this would have on Sophia. And I said yes. I was very scared. I had never given a speech, never written a speech, and I had to do this within 2 days. And it was terrifying, but again, I was willing to do whatever it took to help my daughter. And so I remember flying on the plane, just terrified, and going over the speech over and over and over again. And when I arrived, I went to Capitol Hill and stood at the podium with 5 US senators behind me, and I gave my speech with press in front of me. And the moment I stepped up there, I felt like I was at home. I felt comfortable, and I just couldn't believe it because I did not know I was capable of this.
I have fought for Sophia's life since the day she was born. I know that one day I will lose her to one of her conditions. My heart will be absolutely shattered when that day comes. But if I lose my sweet Sophia because our government decided her life wasn't important enough to protect, well, that will destroy me.
And the story was picked up nationally, and that was the very first time that I went viral nationally. And when I say I got hate, the state level hate was nothing compared to this, and death threats and death wishes upon my daughter, because I was fighting to protect my daughter's life-saving health care. And I was determined. I didn't care what people thought about me. I shed all of the insecurities that held me back and kept me quiet in the past and hiding from the hate, and I said no more.
Natalie Weaver is here with us today to stand up for her daughter and every other American who's facing the threat of having their health care ripped away from them. Please welcome Natalie Weaver.
Sophia's birth was the exact moment our lives changed forever. I never imagined that I would ever have to fight against politicians and lobbyists like one of Sophia's debilitating diseases. I will fight for Sophia's life until her very last breath.
While all this is happening, my daughter's continuing to have her health issues, and in my heart and soul, I know that she is slowly declining. There was nothing I could do to stop my daughter from dying. But this was a tangible thing that I could do to fight for my daughter's life. And I think that's why I went at it so hard, and I was successful in raising awareness. I shed all the insecurities and self-doubt and caring what other people thought, and I just went hard at fighting for my daughter's life-saving healthcare. And it created even more passion knowing that I was helping others, and I kept sharing our story. I wanted as many people to understand what was happening so that they would care, and I shared Sophia with the world because I wanted them to care about her and to fight alongside us. And we built an amazing large online community of people willing to fight for Sophia's life and for the many others whose lives were at risk because of these changes that were being proposed. And bill after bill after bill, I think it came up for a vote 5 times, and it was defeated every time. And as my work went viral and my community grew, the hate also grew, and it was difficult, and there were times when it would overwhelm me and hurt me, and I couldn't believe some of the horrible, violent things that were being said to me. And I remember at one point someone stole Sophia's image and used it to promote eugenics, and I tried to get Twitter to remove it, and they said there's no violation, and so I decided to expose that. And that story went viral internationally throughout the entire world. And that's when things really went wild, and I gave TV interview after TV interview.
This mom went up against Twitter and won, helping bring about change for people with disabilities.
You may remember the story of Sophia Weaver.
A few months ago, a Twitter troll stole a picture Natalie had posted of Sophia and used it to promote abortion. Natalie was outraged and fought with Twitter to take the picture down.
So it was a win when I got Twitter to take the post down, and that was great, but it wasn't enough for me. And I wanted to make sure that they included people with disabilities in the violation reporting tool.
She was frustrated that when you go to report hate speech on Twitter, at the time, the social media giant didn't have a category for hate speech against people with disabilities.
I've used Twitter and social media to raise awareness of this problem and gain support, and thousands of people have reached out to me throughout the world.
After months trying to get Twitter leaders to listen, she was thrilled when just last night she got this tweet from the head of Twitter Trust and Safety. The social media giant added people with disabilities as a protected category.
In order to create change, you have to stand up and fight. You have to raise awareness.
And as my community grew, people needed help, and I was able to help other people get medical needs met, raise money, and I realized that that was probably the most important thing that I should be doing with my platform. And then I created Sophia's voice and used Sophia's heartbeat as the logo. And I also knew that one day when I did lose her, this would be the thing that kept me going. And I continued to fight. And I was pretty burned out because I had done so many TV interviews, had been flying to different states to speak and give speeches, and I became this person that I never dreamt of being or thought was possible for me to be. I was doing things I never thought I was capable of doing, but yet I felt more like myself than ever. It was as if it was what I was meant to be doing. And while I was doing all of this work, I was still being a mom to my 3 kids. And as soon as the kids would get out of school, I would go pick them up, I would make dinner, I would hang out with them, and then I would get back to work once they were asleep. When they woke up, same thing, drop them off at school, and I was trying to do it all and be it all, and it wore me down. And in between all of it, Sophia was continuing to have medical issues. I was really trying to do it all, And I was doing it all, but I don't think I was doing it all very well. So by 2018, I was beginning to feel the physical effects of this nonstop public activism and going viral and giving TV interviews, doing TV shows, and saying yes to every opportunity to raise awareness, to fight for my cause and my daughter, and to try to make the world a better place for my daughter while she was here. I began to feel the physical effects of that. I was fighting panic attacks all day, every day, and continuing my work and stuffing it down and not telling anyone what I was really going through. Hiding it made it build inside, and I think it was beginning to seep out and affect the people around me negatively. And that is one of the things that I regret, is not being balanced with the work that I was doing and all the things that I was going through, and fighting for Sophia while in the background taking her to her appointments and watching her struggle and go through things, and knowing in my heart that she was declining. Sophia started to have an unexplained pain again, and what we would do is scan her body and ask where it hurt to try to figure it out. We would take her to multiple specialists to see if they could figure it out, get imaging done if necessary. We thought maybe it was her hip again, but it wasn't. And then we got her kidneys checked, and they found kidney stones lodged. And the doctor said, you know, it's up to you, but this is likely what's causing pain. If you would like to get the kidney stones removed, it's a fairly simple procedure. He does them all day, every day. And we decided, of course, that we wanted to get that procedure done. We would say yes to surgeries that improved her function and took away pain, but anything that was extreme and life extending, we had said no to. So this one, we thought, we want her to be as comfortable as possible, so let's get this simple surgery done, and then she'll be out of pain again, and it will help a lot of things. And what was meant to be 2 hours ended up being 7 hours. I remember sitting in a private waiting room and her surgeon coming in and sitting down, and he seemed very somber. He put his head down and he told us that her ureter had busted open when he was trying to remove the kidney stone, but we knew it was bad, and he said that he will try his best to stitch it up and put a stent in and give it time to close up and hopefully repair itself, and that we are going to keep her intubated, and we are bringing her to the ICU, that we needed to wait before they could remove the tube to see if she would breathe on her own, because she had been through so much. A part of me felt like this was the start of the ending for her, and that the options that he had if her ureter did not repair itself would put her at even more risk with all of her other conditions. And so we waited, and instead of coming home comfortable and happy, she came home with drains coming out of her body, and we came home with the knowledge that she might not ever recover from this. And at that point, I remember my mind being heavily on death and trying to process the possibility that we were getting even closer than we imagined, and working through that in my mind while dealing with the fact that I hadn't let my body and mind rest for over 3 years at that point. And it was a really big fall for me, going from working nonstop full time, dealing with all of this hate and fighting these things, to now knowing that I'm likely going to lose my daughter. We had to make the tough decision to make plans if something did happen, and we visited a funeral home, and we wanted to make arrangements when we were in more of a clear, calm state, but it was really difficult. We decided after we did that we would not focus on that we would focus on her healing. I love you. I love you. I love you. You love me too?
You do. I'm a lucky mommy. I'm a lucky mommy. Mwah. I'm a lucky mommy. I'm glad you love me. I'm glad. Sometimes I annoy you, don't I? Do I annoy you sometimes? I do. Well, I can't help it. That's what mommies do. They annoy their kids. I still love you.
As I've mentioned before, Sophia's birthday would bring mixed emotions. It would bring up memories of her birth, and every year I would fear that this would be the last birthday we would be able to celebrate. And eventually, when her 10th birthday came, that was the last birthday we were able to celebrate with her here. And after everything she had been through, I knew I wanted to do something very special for her, and I wanted her to be aware of all the people throughout the world who grew to love her and knew so much about her and supported us. And so I reached out and asked people to send in birthday wishes, and we received birthday wishes from all over the world. And it was about a 45-minute video once I put all of the birthday messages together, and she got to watch every single one of them. Some were even beautifully animated, and she got a kick out of all of the videos. And she received hundreds of birthday cards from people in classrooms and children from all over the world, and I read them to her, and she knew that she was surrounded by so much love. Every couple of months, she would need to get the stent removed, get her ureter checked, and if it wasn't fully repaired, he would put in a new stent. And so we did this, and on the 6th time doing it, we're struggling to get her to breathe on her own. They were able to put the tubes in her nose, a high flow to help her breathe. And we eventually went into a room, and she did not respond or wake up for days. And when she finally came to, of course, she's bright-eyed and sweet, and I just remember knowing that her body is saying enough. She is tired, and even though it was a simple procedure, she's been through too much, there's been too much damage, and we cannot continue to do this. And so I spent about a month reflecting on these thoughts and talking to her many specialists and trying to understand why she didn't wake up. But I knew that her body was tired, and it was telling me it was tired. And one of the promises I made to Sophia when she was born is that I would always listen to her body, and I would never push beyond. If her body was ready to go, I would never stop that from happening. With her specialist help, we realized that globally her body was just changing, and it was becoming tired, and all of this was just too much. And so we called in hospice to help us. I remember talking to Sophia, and I said, how would you feel about no more doctors, no more surgeries, needles? How would you feel? And I explained to her what that meant, and she looked at me. She was very sassy still, rolled her eyes like, oh, it's about time. And she hadn't done it or talked in a while because she had been through so much, but she signed and said, all done. During that time, we decided to focus on her living and not dying, and the large community of people that we had built through the work that I had done, and people loving Sophia. They rallied around us and helped her receive so many beautiful experiences before she died. And I will share that with the last episode of the Grow With Sophia series. For some reason in my mind, I thought we had at least a year with her. And we only had a few months. Welcome to the final episode of the Grow With Sophia series. There is a trigger warning on this one because it is highly emotional. There are discussions of child loss and Sophia's final moments. All images of Sophia's final 6 days when she was sick will be blurred, and there are no images of her after her death. These are moments that we will always keep private. Any images shared during the discussion of her death will be flashbacks of her when she was healthy. Welcome to the final and 10th episode of the Grow With Sophia series. I started out this series with the very first time that I held my daughter, and I will end the series with the very last time that I held my daughter. This has probably been the most difficult episode to record, but I want to share her entire life with you, and that was my goal when I started the series after she died. I knew that I didn't want her memory and her impact on this world to die with her. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to get to know my daughter, and I hope it's opened your eyes and your hearts and made you more accepting of others with facial differences and disabilities. My daughter lived for 10 and a half years, so it felt appropriate to end the series at the 10th episode. And I don't know if I will continue the series with different educational videos or if I'm done, but I've always tried to, ever since Sophia's death, follow what feels right and not push myself or force myself. The grief can make things complicated, and I wanted to be as gentle with myself as possible. So I wanted to backtrack a little bit. I shared some of the things at the 9th episode, and the start of the beginning of the end for my daughter was when she had a surgery to remove a kidney stone.
I wish that
We want to be all done.
I'll be in the car soon, going home.
I think I see them. Okay? Mommy's gonna be right here when you wake up, okay?
And Daddy, by the way.
And Daddy, but Mommy will be in your face. So you're gonna do great, okay? Yeah? You my strong girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got nothing to worry about, okay, sweet girl? Okay? And it caused catastrophic damage.
It's hard for me to remember the details around this time. It's like there's a bit of a fog in my mind that's maybe helping to protect me from the memories. So I remember her body was not recovering like it once did.
And we would have to replace stents every couple of months. And I think it was the 5th stent removal that she did not wake up from surgery for 3 days and started to have respiratory failure, and it was impacting her organs. And one of her specialists reviewed everything that was going on, and he believed that globally her body was changing and it was exhausted. When I realized that her body was getting tired, I remembered the promise I made to her, and that was to always listen to what her body was telling me, which meant it was time to stop medical intervention. I remember sitting in the hospital room when she wasn't waking up, and we finally got to take her home, but I felt stuck in that hospital room. And I kept returning to that moment, and I was reminded that I had to keep the promise, and now was the time.
Not recovering from a surgery was really scary. And if that's what the future was going to be, then that's not living, and that's not acceptable for her. And we had a very difficult conversation about what to do next, and bringing back in our hospice care and basically saying goodbye to future medical procedures.
It was the hardest decision to make. It was in January that she had that surgery, and I remember in February really realizing that we needed to bring hospice in to our home to set things up. And I honestly thought we had a year left with Sophia, and I think my mind was just trying to protect itself in order to survive and to get through it, but we only had months. And When I was looking back at these videos, I was struck at just how positive I seem.
That's a sweet laugh. You gonna hit the camera? Yeah, get them! Get the bubbles! Get the bubbles!
And I think it's because when I made that decision, I really wanted to focus on my daughter living fully. We slowly took out the medications that would make her tired, and she was more alive and awake than she had been in a really long time. She was verbalizing, and she really enjoyed her bucket list experiences. And thanks to the community that surrounds us, she was able to have some really beautiful experiences.
I do remember being excited about the adventures. I remember as they were being booked and scheduled, it was exciting to think about her with the medicine out of her system, being able to really kind of fully experience some what we would call normal things, but for her were amazing adventures.
What are you thinking about, Sos? Yeah. You just wait. You've been awake for hours and hours and talking.
There were many things that Sophia couldn't do because it put her life at risk with her rare immune deficiency. But when we made the decision to have a bucket list, the community really supported us and helped us come up with some beautiful ideas. And so for the very first time, she went to a salon and was able to get the salon experience, her hair wash. She got green highlights. It was her choice that they were green, of course, because that was her favorite color for her entire life. And she really enjoyed the experience. And the kids were involved as well, which was so beautiful to do as a family.
I remember she had that clip-in hair that they had put in that was greenish, bluish green. I still have it up in my office. I think she had a good day.
What color do you want to do your nails?
Green.
Oh, don't say. I told you. I knew you were gonna say green.
Is that green?
Okay, what if you could dye your hair any color? What would it be? Green again? Come on.
We did small things like walk to our community lake and have her watch the sunset. And I still go to that same spot and watch the sunset. And it's a really beautiful way to connect with Sophia.
I remember the movie theater was special because it was during the day and it was just us in the room, and I got a chance to sit in a big, leather chair and hold her and watch the movie for a while. And we took turns holding her during that day. And I remember the cinema manager was really nice and gave us the poster of the movie. And I have that up in my office now. I see it every day.
We just had a lot of fun together as a family, having bubble parties and doing all the little things that Sophia enjoyed doing. Also had hospice in our home. It's a program called Kids Path, and they were really wonderful. Someone who played the harp would come in, and someone brought their therapy dog. And they also had a counselor for the kids to prepare them for losing their sister. And we also got to do things like make hand molds and fingerprints together. And those are some of the things that I cherish the most now that she's gone, that I have, are her fingerprints and a mold of her hand. And it was beautiful to have that type of support. We also took Sophia to her favorite place, and that was the mountains in North Carolina. And we got to spend a long weekend there, feeling peaceful and relaxing and taking naps together. There were so many people that wanted to do things for Sophia and send her things, and she got beautiful messages and drawings and artwork of Sophia. And there was this woman who had a doll like me, and she made dolls for children with facial differences and disabilities so that they could have a doll that looked like them. And so for the very first time in Sophia's life, she had a doll that looked like her, and she loved it so much. It had a colostomy, a feeding tube, just like her, and this doll went on adventures with us, and Sophia would just hold on to her. Little did I know it would be extremely therapeutic for my kids to have once their sister was gone. And Lyla and Alex would take turns sleeping with the Sophia doll, and Lyla would dress her up and play with her and take her out on the trampoline together. And we still have her, and it's a beautiful memory to share and to know that this little doll went along with Sophia during all of her final adventures. I also knew that I would want things that reminded me of Sophia around the house when she was gone, and so we planted a flowering bush in our backyard, and every year around the time that Sophia and I planted it, it will bloom, and it's just a beautiful reminder of Sophia and their bright red blooms, and it just reminds me that she's still with us. Another beautiful adventure that we had was going to a roller skating rink. They opened private for us, and they played all of her favorite music, Taylor Swift and Katy Perry, and we just spent over an hour just wheeling her around in her wheelchair on the floor and lights going, and it was just such a beautiful experience. She was really awake and alive for all of these adventures and became more and more talkative because the medications that would stop seizures or other things, were out of her system. Another beautiful adventure we got to have was to take her to the Charlotte Symphony during one of their rehearsals. So we got to sit on the balcony and watch them rehearse just for her. And at the end, they all said something beautiful to her and clapped, and they gave her a card signed by all of them. And it was just another beautiful experience. And we were really focused on just spending all of our time with Sophia as much as we could. And like I said in the past, when I thought we had a year, and I think it was just my way of being able to survive and focus on her living and being positive and moving forward and being a mom to my kids and continuing on. But I really didn't know how long we had. Every day we lived as though it was her last. And as we had promised Sophia, we were getting to the point where her final stent was going to be removed. We had to wait long enough for her body to recover from the last one, since she almost didn't wake up from it. But Sophia knew that this was going to be the last time at the hospital, the last time dealing with doctors and needles and pain. She was very positive and happy.
Hi. Are we about to have your very last surgery ever?
It was really bittersweet for Mark and I, because it was so wonderful to see her feeling so good and being so happy and awake and positive, but knowing that this was the last time was really hard. But I was determined to keep my promise to her, and we were still hopeful that everything had healed and that she would be okay. I still had it in the back of my mind. And she did great having the stent removed, and she was so happy on the way home, and we were celebrating that it was her final time leaving the hospital, that she would never have to return to a hospital ever again.
Later, Levine Children's Hospital. We're done. No more hospitals, no more doctors. None.
It was really important that I stayed positive and happy for Sophia, no matter how much pain I felt and knowing what it meant. She also had a miniature pony come and visit and got to pet it, and we got to watch it run around and kick a ball, and Sophia really enjoyed this experience. Everyone was so loving and generous and supportive. But I think Sophia's favorite experience was the private tour of the Mint Museum. She was so animated the entire time, and she was directing me which piece of artwork to go and vocalizing, and really happy to be there and to be able to hold her and show her different pieces of artwork. She was just so interested in it and really enjoyed it. What do you think? You want to look at the blue one? Okay, I'll get you over there. I will get you over there. Here we go. There we go. You like that? That's awesome.
What do you think of that? Ooh, look, you see there's mud.
So cool.
This one's got mirrors.
Here we go. Let's look.
Mirrors.
Ooh, this is so pretty and lots of green, Sophia. And Sophia's final experience, and we didn't know at the time that it was her final experience, was a private tour of the Georgia Aquarium.
I mean, I think she really enjoyed that adventure. It stands out in my mind as well.
And we got to go behind the scenes and see whales and seals and penguins, and Sophia really enjoyed this experience.
But again, the way she'd always bounced back and was so strong, I think part of me also thought there'd be at least 5 or 10 more adventures that we could experience together. And I wish I could have spent every day with her.
Sophia had some other experiences lined up that she didn't get to have, and Lily Pulitzer at the mall near us offered for her to come to the mall, and I remember canceling because she just seemed like she was tired and I needed to give her a break. We had been going back-to-back adventures and having a lot of fun, and like I said, she was so positive and happy and talkative, and then I just noticed a small decline with her energy levels and thought we should take a little break. We also had a flight on a private jet scheduled, and then throughout this time we had been planning a Winnebago adventure across the United States for Sophia, and Winnebago so graciously offered us a accessible Winnebago for an entire month, and we were really excited about this adventure. But I remember it was Friday, and I remember this picture I took of Sophia with some big sunglasses on. And when I took the picture and looked at it, I thought her color seemed a little off and she was really lethargic. And that night she started to get a little sick. And for the final days, for 6 days, she was sick. And with each day, her breathing became more and more labored.
I remember her when hospice came in, and we were up in her room. We went out and got a really comfy chair, like a recliner that we could all be with her and sit with her. And we all took turns holding her. I'm not sure she slept in her bed that much that week.
And hospice nurse would come in and check on her, and we gave her antibiotics and medications to try to stop whatever infection was happening. And Sunday came around and she got worse, And then I remember by Wednesday realizing that this was the end. It took my mind and body some time to accept that her life was coming to an end. And I remember that she, despite the antibiotics, was getting worse. And I remember the nurse talking to the doctor and him saying, give them the opportunity if they want to take her to the hospital, ask them, one more time. And I knew that I had to keep my promise to my daughter. I knew that she would either die peacefully surrounded by everyone who loved her in our home, or if we took her to the hospital, she might die in a hospital room or an operating room, or if she did somehow recover, she would be met with more surgeries, more pain, only for the ending to be the same. I had to say no, that we were not taking her to the hospital, that I was keeping my promise to her, and we would continue down the path and the choices that we had made. And that was the hardest moment, knowing that that was the point of no return. We kept the house peaceful, and we had beautiful music playing. We played her favorite Taylor Swift songs.
Wednesday, I finally realized that it wasn't going to be much longer. And I just wanted to be with her as much as I could.
And when Thursday came around, I knew we were getting closer. And so we all just spent as much time as possible holding her. And I remember it became nighttime, and I somehow instinctively knew that this was her final day. And I held her, and I remember Sophia's nurse aide that had been with us since she was 2 years old. She was there, and she said, Natalie, why don't you lay her in her bed? And I remember I didn't want to. I resisted for a little bit, but I had been holding her for hours. And she said, why don't you lay her in her bed? She loves her bed. She'll be comfortable in there. Get her changed. And so I thought it was a good idea at that point. And so I remember putting her in the bed and changing her, and I decided to get in bed next to her. And everyone decided to leave the room to give us our own space. And I remember cuddling with her, as I did often, and then the moment I pulled the blankets over her and she was kind of laying as she always did, I knew that the breaths she was taking were different. And so I yelled to everyone that was there that she was taking her final breaths, please come.
I remember I knew it was going to be a long night, so I went to try to lay down at around 10, and not a few minutes later, somebody came and got me and basically said, this is it. And I went back into the room, and she was struggling to breathe, and it was getting fainter. And I just got really close to her and gave her a hug and a kiss. I held her hand.
And the people who were closest to Sophia were there with their hands on her, giving her love as she took her final breath.
It must have been around 10:30 or 10:45, and I think we were all around her, and she took her final breath, and we all just kind of stood with her and laid beside her and just wanted to hold her one more time.
I laid next to her for a little bit, and I felt like I needed to ask permission to leave her side. And I jumped from her bed and fell to the floor on my knees, crouched in a ball, screaming and crying for what felt like hours.
I was comforting her as best I could, but it was hard, and she was crying and wailing, and just never heard that before. So
But there was nothing else that she could do at this point, so I think we had to convince her to leave and just get out of the room and just lay down.
All the strength that I held and found for Sophia was gone in an instant, and I couldn't be strong for her anymore. And once I was pulled off the floor, after about an hour of screaming and wailing, I sat in a chair next to her bed. And when I knew that the nurse was coming and the funeral home was going to be coming, I had to say my goodbyes, and I had to say my goodbyes. And I had to go into my room and turn the sound machine on, because I knew it would be torture watching them take her from our home. I really think Sophia was waiting to die when she was no longer in my arms, because I'm not sure I would have been able to let her go. And I think she knew that.
And I was able to call the nurse. I called and said that she needed to come and just help us with the next step. And by that point, it was probably 11:30 when she got there, and she, confirmed that she was no longer here. And I remember staying with Sophia until the funeral home director showed up, and I let him in the door, and we went back upstairs, and I was able to hold her. I carried her down the stairs. And then we put her in the gurney and made sure she was strapped in nice and safe. We took her to the car. So once she was in the car and strapped in, I followed them to the funeral home and made sure that she was in a safe place. But the night she passed away, I felt this burst and surge of energy, and I just want to believe that it was her leaving her physical body and just coming into mine. And so it makes me happy to think that there's still something of her inside me whenever I think about those last minutes. Other than the memories that we have, which are great as well.
And I remember waking up the next morning, and I was completely gone. It's a complete emotional, physical, mental breakdown that you have as a parent when your child dies. It was the worst pain that I felt emotionally, which turned into physical pain, and I honestly thought I would not survive. And for these last 5.5 years, I have had to rebuild myself into a different person.
Life without Sophia is like a part is like missing, basically, because when I used to go home, she used to like call my name out and stuff, which I don't hear that anymore, so it kind of feels like different. At first I didn't really like understand it, so like it wasn't that sad, but as I grow up it gets like harder, because like I understand like what really happened more. And it's hard because everybody around me has like their sister growing up, but it's just different. But I can deal with it pretty good.
It was hard to lose a sister because I always thought that she was gonna have my back, and we would always like do fun things together until and she'd be at like my wedding and when I have my first kid. It's also hard because I don't remember much things about her because I was only like 5. I miss that she's missing out on me growing up and trying out new things. Like I just started cheer and she doesn't get to see that.
You trying to knock her drink? Good job, Sos. Oh! Good job! Are you just gonna get her? Oh! Get your sister. Yay!
getting your sister?
She's like getting my sister. She's like, literally was like that. Get me, it doesn't hurt.
Is that funny to you that you're getting your sister? We had to learn to move forward as a different type of family, which took time, and there were difficulties and bumps in the road, but we did figure it out. And that Winnebago trip that we had planned for Sophia, Winnebago graciously offered us to continue on the trip and to be able to spend an entire month in nature traveling across the US, honoring Sophia's life was a beautiful and healing thing. I miss my daughter every day, and I try to honor her by living my life through the lessons that she taught me. I remember trying to rebuild myself in the beginning, thinking that I needed to go back to the fierce advocate that I was for her, but that person no longer existed, and I had to find a new path. And it needs to be a lot more gentle because of what I had been through. I want to thank you all for loving my daughter and seeing her, truly seeing her beyond the facial differences and seeing the beauty that she carries and the impact that she can have and the ways that she can change your lives. Sophia had a huge impact on my life and so many of you. She really changed me into a better person. She showed me the importance of unconditional love and acceptance and living life to the fullest and trying to live in the moment, even though it can be really hard. I just want to thank you all for your support and thank you for loving my daughter. It means the world to me. And thank you for keeping her memory and impact alive.
2, 3.
Oh, Sophie did it! Good job, Sophia! Bouncy bounce ball.
I would tell the world is like probably that she was just like always happy and like she always brightened people's day. So like people who like look at her and like make a judgment, I feel like they should probably get to know her more because she was actually a happy and nice person.
You want me to do it again? Yeah? In loving memory of my sweet Sophia. Sophia may be gone, but her memory will never be forgotten. Thank you all for helping me keep my daughter's memory and impact on this world alive. If you would like to support the work that we do, you can make a donation in Sophia's memory to www.sophias-voice.com,
where we will continue to raise awareness about facial differences and disabilities, as well as help others pay medical expenses.